Hey everyone, now that the Marvels is out, I figured it's a good time to update my MCU ranking. Because these videos have been getting so long, I'm not going to be doing them every time a new movie comes out, I'm just going to be doing them at the end of each year. So in this case, 3 new movies, and some of the old ones have been rearranged, so... I don't know if I'm going to spoil any of the new ones, but just in case, I'm just going to put out a blanket spoiler alert. Starting off, number 33 is Thor: The Dark World. This one is the most formulaic. It's the least unique. It's got so much wrong with it, but it's not awful. The acting is solid, but the characters don't get much development, and Malekith is bottom tier MCU villain. The one way this movie improves on the first Thor is the cinematography, mainly in the action scenes, specifically because there aren't an abundance of Dutch angles. The plot is fine, the conflict works because the hero and villain's goals are in direct conflict with each other.
Come on, Darcy.
You know, with all that power, I thought you'd hit harder.
The writing isn't the best, but there are plenty of memorable moments, both dramatic and comedic. Like Thor riding the subway, or Thor whacking Malekith as they tumble through the air. My score is 3 out of 5. Number 32 is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. This isn't what I want from an Ant-Man movie. The first 2 worked because they were smaller. Figuratively and literally. Like, smaller scope, smaller stakes. This one is technically smaller because they're down in the quantum realm, I guess, but it doesn't feel small because we never get that sense of scale. We never really get the idea that the world they're trapped in is much smaller than our world. That is never properly established, at least not visually. However, this does work as a Marvel movie, so if you enjoy the MCU formula, this is a good example of that. This does that reasonably well. I wish they hadn't recast Cassie. Don't get me wrong, I love Catherine Newton and she is very good in this movie, but I really just wish they brought back Emma Fuhrmann. Paul Rudd is a national treasure, that goes without saying. Evangeline Lilly, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Michael Douglas are all solid. Jonathan Majors is solid as Kang, but given what has come to light, I think they're making the right decision by moving away from Kang. I actually like what they did with MODOK. I wish he'd been in the movie more, but I think it works. My score is 3 out of 5. Number 31 is Thor: Love and Thunder. Look, this movie is kind of a mess, but at least it's an entertaining mess. If nothing else, I am excited to see how they decide to continue Thor's story after this film. Christian Bale is great, which shouldn't be a surprise. He makes Gore the kind of faux, affably evil villain I generally enjoy watching. Unfortunately, I feel like I wish they had made him more evil. I don't read a lot of comics, and I haven't read anything with Gore, but from what I do know, He is someone to be feared, not someone to sympathize with. Or rather, he is someone who should be feared first and then maybe made sympathetic later, not the other way around. The opening, I feel like the opening works to set him up, but I also feel like the opening should have been redone, used to set up him as a god killer, rather than set him up as a sympathetic villain. Like, don't get me wrong, sympathetic villains can work, but I don't know if gore was the right choice for that. Anyway, Russell Crowe is phenomenal as Zeus. He is clearly having a blast, and he perfectly embodies the hedonistic man whore who sticks his dick in everything.
Mighty Zeus. Wow. Gods of the universe, I come here to ask for your help, to raise an army. There's a maniac called the God Butcher who seeks to end us all. His destruction is everywhere. Entire planets, realms have been left completely unprotected. He's left nothing but chaos in his wake. But I know where he is. And with your help, we can crush him before he kills anyone else.
That guy, he killed a couple of low-level gods. Boo-hoo. If that's all, pretty boy, you go back to your seat and you be quiet.
Yeah, I'm sorry, did you not hear any of what I just said? He's murdering en masse.
I tell you, one time, now you shut up, you be quiet, because you are this close to being uninvited to the orgy.
Zeus, we must do something.
You cannot come to the orgy.
You have to listen to us.
That's it.
Because make no mistake, Zeus is not the ultimate fighter. He is not Leonidas from 300. Most of Greek mythology can be summed up in 5 words. Unfortunately, Zeus was feeling horny. I'm not kidding. Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, Tessa Thompson are also great, although I'm a little disappointed that Valkyrie never licked her sword like she did in the trailers. I like Thor and Jane's character arcs, but I feel like they could have been done better. I feel like when it comes down to the editing room, when it comes down to killing his babies and trimming out certain parts, Taika Waititi has a tendency to trim out the dramatic stuff before he trims out the comedic stuff. And because of that, this movie kind of suffers. With that being said, the humor mostly works, the action is solid, and the music is great. The whole fight on the little planet, it's a little wonky, but like the visuals are so stunning that I don't even care. It works so well. The score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 30 is Black Widow. This movie's opening credits sequence is one of the best in recent memory. At least when it comes to superhero movies.
Load up on guns and bring your friends. It's fun to lose and to pretend she's overboard and selfish.
Remove all the defense.
Oh no, I know a dirty word.
That one and her.
It's hard to have high stakes in a prequel because you know what's going to happen to the main character, which is why it's important to have other characters to care about. And the film succeeds in that regard. Scarlett Johansson is solid as usual, although unfortunately she is kind of the least interesting of the protagonists. Florence Pugh, David Harbour, and Rachel Weisz are all great. The action is good, the music is very good, and the emotional moments genuinely work. Taskmaster is a decent villain, and although I wish they had been more faithful to the comics, I also think that it works in the context of the story. So, mixed bag. My score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 29 is Captain Marvel. Honestly, my biggest problem with this movie is the plot. It's not bad, mind you, it's just generic. This movie fits squarely into the established formula, and it doesn't really stray from it very much. It has some fun playing around within the formula, but it doesn't really stray from it. My second biggest problem is that you never really feel like she's in that much danger. Brie Larson is fantastic as Carol Danvers. I mean, yes, there are points where she's bland and emotionless, but that's deliberate. It's not a case of dull surprise.
Dull surprise!
It's a case of the character hiding her emotions. Right? It's not that the actress cannot emote, it's the character choosing not to. She's been taught by the creed that emotions are a weakness that must be suppressed, and even when we get further into the movie, she's still holding it close to the chest because she's not really sure who she can trust. The acting is solid across the board, but the standout here is Ben Mendelsohn, and here's why. He has become typecast as the sleazy villain. Dark Knight Rises, Rogue One, Ready Player One, that shitty Robin Hood reboot, and so on and so forth. When he popped up in this movie, I immediately figured he was the villain. Even though I knew the Kree were ultimately bad guys, I figured, oh, more villains. Even after it's revealed that he's more in the morally gray area, I was still suspicious of him right up until the end of the movie. So, well done.
You're right. I'm only human.
The score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 28 is Iron Man 2. Having this movie live up to the first Iron Man, I wouldn't say it would have been impossible, but it would be the equivalent of losing your leg climbing up Everest and then trying to climb up Everest again without getting a replacement leg. Okay, no, that's a terrible example. That's a terrible comparison. Never mind. Anyway, I think Favreau knew that, so instead of trying to one-up the first movie, he just decided to do something different. And so instead of an action-packed origin story, we get more of a character study with 2 big action set pieces and a couple smaller fights mixed in. And Tony gets plenty of character development here. Probably more than he did in the first Iron Man. We're introduced Black Widow in the most badass way possible, and even Happy gets a moment to shine.
I got him!
Also, leave it to Jon Favreau to cast himself not as a big hero, but as the hero's head of security. Whiplash isn't a top-tier villain, but the conflict works because his goals conflict with Tony's goals. The action scenes we get are well done, and I actually appreciate that the final fight against Whiplash is short and sweet, because we just got done with a big, long, extended fight scene. So having 2 of those back-to-back would have felt, well, like overkill. It's all about pacing. And Justin Hammer is still one of the most underrated villains in the MCU. With that being said, the movie still has issues, largely it pales in comparison in spite of everyone's efforts. It's kind of like the Lost World Jurassic Park. The score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 27 is Eternals. This is still one of the more ambitious movies in the MCU. It didn't fully succeed, but credit where it's due. It's surprisingly character-driven, and it comes to us from a director who knows exactly what she's doing. Unfortunately, because they're trying to introduce 10 new characters, none of them really get fleshed out as well as they could have. The acting is all solid. Barry Keoghan, Lauren Ridloff, Kamal Nanjiani, Angelina Jolie and Gemma Chan stand out among the Eternals, but everyone gets their moments to shine. Haraya Patel absolutely steals the show. He is hilarious. And Kyogen and Ridloff have fantastic chemistry. Like, they have more chemistry than Gemma Chan and Richard Madden. Bill Skarsgård is very good, but he feels overqualified considering his character rarely speaks. The plot jumps between past and present at logical points in the story rather than it feeling random. The action is very good and never uses more CGI than absolutely necessary. Music is solid, and cinematography and editing are on point.
Fastos! I have to try and stop this. I need to get closer to Tim. Keep Icarus busy.
We've got you. Go. Enough.
My favorite part of this movie is that we're finally getting more disability representation in superhero movies. Makari is a deaf speedster, and Lauren Ridloff absolutely kills it. Our score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 26 is Captain America, the First Avenger. Look, I like this movie a lot, but if there are any overrated movies in the MCU, this is definitely a top contender. It's not bad by any means, but it's just one of the weaker entries. Like, there are a lot of people who have this ranked up with its sequels, and I respectfully disagree. I don't think it's on that level. And Honest Trailers was right. There are a lot of moments where it really just feels like they're doing setup for the Avengers. The acting is solid, but the characters don't get a whole lot of development. Like, the biggest change Steve goes through in this movie is physical.
That's 50%. 60. 70.
Shut it down! Shut it down!
Kill the reactor, Mr. Stark! Turn it off! Kill it! Kill the reactor!
No! Don't! I can do this!
90. That's 100%! Mr. Stark?
Red Skull isn't the best villain, but Hugo Weaving absolutely kills it. And Joe Johnston's direction definitely helps this movie stand out, even if it doesn't quite elevate it as much as it could. The score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 25 is Thor. This one is still pretty solid, in spite of the overuse of Dutch angles. Now, I get it. Kenneth Branagh... There are a lot of times, like, since then, like in Murder on the Orient Express and some of his other movies, where normally a Dutch angle is used to create a sense of unease, to make people feel uncomfortable. And what Branagh is doing is basically, he wants to fit something in frame, but he doesn't want to zoom in or zoom out to do it, so he just rotates the camera so that whatever it is will fit in the frame. I get it. That's not always the case. There are sometimes where he actually is just trying to use it in the traditional sense, and there are sometimes where it feels like he wasn't sure what else to do for the action scene, so he just used a Dutch angle. Mixed bag. Anyway, Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston are great. Natalie Portman, Anthony Hopkins, both good.
Thor, Odin's son. You have betrayed the express command of your king. Through your arrogance and stupidity, you have opened these peaceful realms and innocent lives to the horror and desolation of war! You are unworthy of these realms! You're unworthy of your title! You're unworthy of the loved ones you have betrayed. I now take from you your power. In the name of my father and his father before. I own it all, father! Cast you out!
Loki is honestly a better villain here than he was in the Avengers. The action's pretty good, musical score is solid, and the comedy mostly works. The score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 24 is The Incredible Hulk. This is definitely an underrated one. I like that it's not an origin story, and instead they establish that something vaguely resembling the events of the 2003 Hulk movie previously happened in this continuity. This movie honestly gives us one of the best live-action portrayals of Hulk, especially just how scary he can be.
Now she'll see. Alpha team, let him have all of it.
Like, the only other MCU movie that came close to that was Age of Ultron, but because that movie was so comedic, it wasn't quite to the same effect. We'll get to that. Edward Norton is great, and honestly, Tim Roth is much better than he gets credit for. Abomination isn't a top-tier villain, and the CGI for him and Hulk isn't the best, but he works because he was established as a character before he became a monster, so we get a sense of his personality, and how becoming Abomination doesn't actually change his personality as much as you might think. It just amplifies certain aspects of his personality. Louis Leterrier's personal directing style definitely helps this one stand out from the bunch, and the action scenes are better than they get credit for. My score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 23 is The Marvels. Carol Danvers is a character that works better as part of a team than on her own.
Annihilator!
I don't like that name.
DJ Skillis, we be the realest team on the list. Watch out, I kill it, watch out, I spit it on the mic. Y'all can't do what I do, just admit it. Money, get it, drop it to the floor. This look pretty, y'all ain't doing it. I did it, cause I'm marvelous, fantabulous. A bad chick, the flow sick like oh shit. You know this, I'm cool shit. Knocking the fools out like fools since I do this.
Friend of yours?
It's the kind of beat to go rat-ta-ta. 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 It's the kind of beat to go rat-ta-ta.
That is one way this movie improves on the first one. The other way is the villain. Now, Dar-Ben is not a top-tier MCU villain. She's not great. She's fine. However, she's a bit more fleshed out than Jude Law and Annette Bening and whoever else played the Supreme Intelligence. And, unlike them, she actually feels like a legitimate threat to Captain Marvel. And so, yeah, it definitely feels like they trimmed this down. Like, I know the MCU hasn't really done director's cuts, but I would very much like, if there could be one movie in the MCU to get a director's cut out of, this is probably at the top of the list. The acting is all good, if not great. Brie Larson is fantastic. She and Teyonah Parris and Iman Vellani all have very good chemistry. Like I said, Darben isn't a great villain, but Zawe Ashton's performance is on point. Tom Hiddleston's got himself a winner right there. I love that this movie finally brings together some explanations for what had previously been perceived as inconsistencies regarding the Kree. Why, outside of Captain Marvel, they've been portrayed as having, like, one ruler, and also having, but then there are also, like, other factions of Kree. This movie finally explains why, and I'm not going to spoil it, because this movie's still brand frickin' new. My score is 4 out of 5. Number 22 is Iron Man 3. I don't know if the controversy surrounding Ben Kingsley in this movie is still as strong as it was, holy shit, 10 years ago. But I still love the reveal in this movie. I think it's fucking hilarious. And honestly, Ben Kingsley is even better as Trevor than he is as the fake Mandarin. And honestly, I think they made the right choice here because it allowed them to bring in the real Mandarin come Shang-Chi. So, honestly, I think it was worth it. And here's why I think it works. Out of all the movies in the MCU, like out of all the little individual series, Thor movies, Captain America, Guardians of the Galaxy, so on and so forth, the Iron Man movies have always been the most grounded in reality. Captain America is a close second, but Iron Man just has the slight edge. So if you would introduce someone with actual magic, not Thor, oh, your ancestors called it magic, you call it science, I come from a place where they're one and the same. Not like that. I mean actual fucking magic, like Doctor Strange level of actual magic. And if you take someone like that and put him in an Iron Man movie, it doesn't work. Yeah, like the pseudoscience extremis, that works. That feels right at home. The portrayal of PTSD in this movie is much better than it gets credit for. And also, I really like the final battle. I think it still holds up pretty well.
Merry Christmas, buddy. Jarvis, target extremis heat signatures disable with extreme prejudice. Yes. What are you waiting for? It's Christmas. Take him to church.
Gentlemen.
A score is 4 out of 5. Number 21 is Ant-Man. I guarantee this movie would be higher on the list if Edgar Wright had stayed on, but I also don't blame him for leaving. Like, he wanted Ant-Man to be standalone, and they wanted it to be part of the MCU, and there's really no rectifying, there is no middle ground. That is a case where it really does have to be one or the other, so I get it. There's been jokes all around about, like, oh, this movie, it's like Iron Man, but really small. And that's fair, but also not quite. It's a fairly standard origin story with enough style and substance to work.
I'm gonna disintegrate you!
Playing Disintegration by The Cure.
Paul Rudd is a national treasure. Evangeline Lilly is awesome. Michael Pena is hilarious. The action is very well done. The writing is good. Luis's recap session is definitely the highlight. That shit's hilarious. Yellow Jacket is fine. Not bad, but nothing special. Now that Quantumania is out, it's actually kind of interesting rewatching this one and knowing that Yellow Jacket will eventually become MODOK, so that's actually pretty fun. But honestly, Corey Stoll's performance helps prevent Yellow Jacket from being completely forgettable. The score is 4 out of 5. Number 20 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. Some MCU movies are integral to advancing the main plot of the Infinity Saga, or I guess now it's the Multiverse Saga. Others just play a smaller role, and they mostly exist as self-contained entertainment. This movie is the latter, and there's nothing wrong with that. Ghost is one of the most underrated villains in the MCU, and definitely one of the most sympathetic. She's not evil. She's only a villain because her goals are in direct conflict with the hero's goals. And also, I love the contrast of, this is a fairly lighthearted movie. This is a fun movie. It's not super high stakes. And yet Ghost's motivation is, I'm in pain every second of every day, and I will do anything to make it stop.
I didn't want him to be alone. When I woke up, my parents were dead. I wasn't so lucky. They call it molecular disequilibrium. A rather dull name, I think. Doesn't quite do justice to what it means. Every cell in my body is torn apart and stitched back together. Over and over, every day.
And this movie also gives us a more straightforward villain in the form of Walton Goggins. The humor is just as good as it was in the first movie, and the story is character-driven rather than event-driven, so that helps. And also, this movie gives us a positive portrayal of co-parenting and a divorced couple who aren't constantly at each other's throats, which is something not nearly enough movies do, so thank you for that. My score is 4 out of 5. Number 19 is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Welcome back, Sam. You've been missed. Scott Derrickson made the first Doctor Strange his own, but if there's anyone fit to take his place, it's Sam Raimi. Now, this movie does not live up to the first Doctor Strange, but it's still pretty great. This is also the bloodiest MCU movie to date, and, well, that's not exactly saying much. Raimi really pushes the limits of the PG-13 rating. Benedict Cumberbatch and Elizabeth Olsen are great, and Chiwetel Ejiofor, Benedict Wong, Rachel McAdams are all very good, and there are also several other actors who I'm not going to name, just in case you still haven't seen this movie, who are also very good. However, the standout here is Xochitl Gomez. There are certain factors that make MCU Americate pretty much impossible, but whatever. I can get over that because she absolutely kills it.
You're gonna take my power, aren't you? Before Wanda can. It's okay. I understand now.
Like, yes, she's not the best, but, like, as far as, like, first on-screen major role, she's off to a great start. Much like Everything Everywhere All at Once, although to less success, this movie explores the multiverse, but it also remembers to keep things personal for the characters, which is a big reason why it works so well.
No good they'll be left.
The score is 4 out of 5. If this shit isn't controversial already, then it's about to be. My number 18 is The Avengers. Look, I love this movie. This is a great movie, but in the 11 years since it has come out, it has become glaringly apparent that it has some issues. For one, none of the characters get much development. Tony's attempted sacrifice was not the result of anything that happened in this movie. It would have happened either way. Loki is a great character, but in this movie, he's just fine. He's still really good. I love watching him, but like, especially now that it's been confirmed that like he was being mind controlled, that just makes it less interesting. It explains a lot, but it also makes it less interesting. Also, like a few other movies on here, the color palette is kind of bland, and the subpar lighting does not help. However, like I said, this is still a damn great movie. Pacing is on point, the action is great, musical score is great, the humor works.
You listen well, brother.
I'm listening.
Do not touch me again.
Then don't take my stuff.
You have no idea what you're dealing with.
Shakespeare in the Park?
Doth mother know you weareth her drapes?
This is beyond you, Metal Man. Loki will face Asgardian justice.
He gives up the cube, he's all yours. Until then, stay out of the way.
Tourist.
Okay.
The score is 4 out of 5. Number 17 is Avengers: Age of Ultron. Unlike the previous movie, this one actually develops the Avengers as characters and continues their long-term arcs down a logical path.
Hi. Company. Sorry, didn't call ahead.
This is an agent of some kind.
Gentlemen, this is Laura.
I know all your names.
Ooh, incoming.
Hi, sweetheart. Hey, buddy. How you guys doing?
These are
Look at your face.
smaller agents.
Oh, my goodness.
Did you bring any nuts?
Why don't you hug her and find out?
Sorry for barging in on you. Yeah, we would have called ahead, but we were busy having no idea that you existed.
Yeah, well, Fury helped me set this up when I joined. Kept it off S.H.I.E.L.D.'s files, like to keep it that way. I figure it's a good place to lay low.
Honey. Oh, I missed you. How's little Natasha? Huh?
She's Nathaniel.
Traitor.
Ultron is a better villain here than Loki was in the Avengers. The action is great, the lighting is actually good, musical score is awesome. This was the point where I feel like the humor became oversaturated, but it's good humor, so, okay. It's mostly good humor. There are a few jokes that feel very, not good, but for the most part, the humor is actually very funny, so it works. And also, this is the only movie, other than The Incredible Hulk, where Hulk actually gets to be scary. Now, granted, he's being not, like, mind-controlled, just manipulated by Scarlet Witch. However, it still works just fine, and, like, it actually adds to the horror of, even more than before, Bruce is like, oh my god, what have I done? My score is 4 out of 5. Number 16 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Honestly, I don't really have any big problems with this movie. It's just a step down from the first one overall.
He's got it! You're just got the fear! Go!
Come a little bit closer, you're my kind of man. So big and so strong. Come a little bit closer. I'm all alone, and the night is so long. You started to move in my arms.
Cast is great, everyone gets plenty of development, Kurt Russell makes for an awesome villain. Humor is just as good as it was in the first movie, with Drax getting some of the funniest moments this time around. Pacing does get slow at times, and there are some moments, comedic and dramatic, that don't quite work, but they're few and far between. For the most part, the comedy works and the drama works. And the little bits of horror we get also work. Score is 4 out of 5. Number 15 is Spider-Man Homecoming. Tobey Maguire was a great Peter Parker and a good Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield was a good Peter Parker and a great Spider-Man. Tom Holland is equally good as both. Michael Keaton is great. Jacob Batalon is hilarious. The plot is mostly character-driven, and the action is mostly great, and the musical score is fantastic. And the humor is just consistently funny. The final battle could have been better. I think they used too many quick cuts, but it's not awful. It does give us some great character moments, though. And also, the scene in the car on the way to Homecoming is just phenomenal.
I've seen you around, right? I mean, somewhere. Have we ever, because of even the voice?
He does academic decathlon with me. And he's at my party.
It was a great party. Really great. Yeah. Beautiful house. A lot of windows. Great.
You were there for like 2 seconds.
I was there longer than 2 seconds.
You disappeared.
No, I did not disappear.
Yes, you did. You disappeared like you always do, like you did in DC too.
That's terrible what happened down there in DC, though. Were you scared? I bet you were glad when your old pal Spider-Man showed up in the elevator, though.
Yeah, well, I actually didn't go up. I saw it off on the ground. Very lucky that he was there that day.
Good old Spider-Man.
Dad, light.
Score is 4.5 out of 5. Number 14 is Spider-Man Far From Home. Jake Gyllenhaal does such a good job portraying both sides of Mysterio, both the heroic facade he puts on and his actual personality.
See, that wasn't so hard.
Somebody get this stupid costume off me!
And the rest of the main cast is great as well. Tom Holland and Zendaya have such good chemistry. Their interactions are perfectly believably awkward.
I'm glad we're doing this.
Yeah, me too.
To see the city a little bit.
You know, they used to execute people on this bridge. They would, like, put them in a basket and they would drown in the water. Sorry.
It's okay. Like, there's this thing that I've been wanting to talk to you about for a while.
Yeah?
It's our last night in Europe, and I had this plan that I wanted to tell you. I'm just gonna tell you. MJ,
I'm Spider-Man.
What?
The action is a small step up from Homecoming. All the shit with Mysterio's illusions, it just works so well. It's so well done. And here's why I love this movie. At its core, it is not a big blockbuster. Much like the villain, it's pretending to be much bigger than it actually is. This is just a cute little teen movie disguised as a big blockbuster, and it's awesome. The score is 4.5 out of 5. Number 13 is Avengers Endgame. This movie still has the best third act in the entire MCU. Movie as a whole has some issues, but nothing major. Everyone's character development pays off here, and their arcs help drive the plot. There are so many callbacks, but none of them feel forced. The action is some of the best in the MCU. The acting is solid across the board. yes, there are some plot conveniences and stuff like that, but, like, it still works. It's still, as a cohesive whole, it still works. The score is 4.5 out of 5. Number 12 is Black Panther. R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman. You were phenomenal. Killmonger is one of the best MCU villains. Shuri is just fucking hilarious. Like some of the other movies, the plot is mostly character-driven, and it works. The action is great, especially the casino fight and the car chase that follow. The musical score is also great.
You know, you look just like your old man. I made the train.
Get out of here, boss.
Once we get to the third act, there's some wonky-ass CGI. However, it is not the VFX artist's fault. You can place that blame squarely on the execs who were pushing to rush this movie. The score is 4.5 out of 5. Number 11 is Doctor Strange. This is one of the best superhero origin stories to date. The Asshole's redemption is one of my favorite character arcs, and this movie does it better than most. Benedict Cumberbatch is great, and Tilda Swinton is fantastic. I understand some of the controversy surrounding the comic inaccuracies of the character, but her performance is just so damn good. I mean, she is one of the best actors in Hollywood when it comes to portraying characters who are in that morally gray area. See also Suspiria. The visuals are some of the best in this entire franchise, especially when time slows down as the Ancient One is dying.
You have to return to your body now. You don't have time.
Time is relative. Your body hasn't even hit the floor yet. I've spent so many years peering through time, looking at this exact moment, but I can't see past it. I've prevented countless terrible futures, and after each one there's always another, and they all lead here, but never further.
You think this is where you die?
You wonder what I see in your future?
No. Yes?
I never saw your future, only its possibilities. You have such a capacity for goodness. You always excelled, but not because you craved success, but because of your fear of failure.
It's what made me a great doctor.
It's precisely what kept you from greatness. Arrogance and fear still keep you from learning the simplest and most significant lesson of all.
Which is?
It's not about you.
Showdown between Doctor Strange and Dormammu is fucking awesome, and also highlights the importance of saving your game before you fight the final boss. And Caecilius isn't a great villain, but Mads Mikkelsen's performance definitely helps him not suck. The score is 4.5 out of 5. Number 10 is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. This movie hits hard, and it does not pull any punches. Chadwick Boseman is sorely missed, but aside from his absence, this movie is a small improvement on the first Black Panther. Letitia Wright is fantastic. Lupita Nyong'o, Denai Guerrera, Winston Duke, Florence Kasumba, Michaela Cole, Martin Freeman, and Angela Bassett are all good if not great. With that being said, Dominique Thorne and Tena Huerta absolutely steal the show as Ironheart and Namor.
Get out of my dorm. Get out. Hey, I'm warning you, do not take another step toward me.
See how they teach the children to treat their guests.
Put this spear in here. Who brought a spear in here?
I like it.
Hey, put it down, put it. You'll hurt yourself. Come on.
It's all right, princess. Small girl. I am going to give you 2 options. You can come to Wakanda, conscious or unconscious.
You need to be conscious of the way that you look. Walking around here with that ash on your head.
Oh, it's funny.
No, it's not.
I told you.
You look good.
The action is consistently great, and the final battle is like one of the most brutal in the MCU. Scores 4.5 out of 5. Number 9 is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. This movie does an outstanding job of creating a sense of dread.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Mobilize strike units, 25th floor.
Cap gets more character development here than he did in the first Avenger and the Avengers combined. Alexander Pierce is still one of the best villains in the MCU, okay, Bucky isn't the best villain, but he is one of the best characters. The action is great, the spy plot is intriguing, the music is dope. The emotional moments work very well, and the movie even manages to avoid having its exposition dump be egregious by adding in tension of a ticking clock in the form of an inbound missile while Zola is expositing. Scores 4.5 out of 5. Number 8 is Captain America: Civil War. The conflict between the characters in this movie just makes sense based on everything that has come before. And, like, which side everyone picks makes sense based on their personalities and their past experiences, including when they switch sides. Zemo is one of the best MCU villains, and his plan also gives us a fantastic expectation subversion. The whole movie sets us up to expect a final battle of Cap, Bucky, and maybe some of the others fighting the other Winter Soldiers. Instead, we get something much more personal and character-driven, and I fucking love it.
Tony. Did you know? I didn't know it was him.
Shit, man. I just did you know. Yes.
The score is 4.5 out of 5. Number 7 is Thor: Ragnarok. This movie is visually stunning, well written, and just fucking hilarious. Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston, Kate Blanchett, Tessa Thompson, Mark Ruffalo, Jeff Goldblum are all great. Doctor Strange's cameo is a highlight, and like the 40-ish seconds that he and Loki are on screen together, that alone is worth the price of admission. And there are so many highlights. You have Luke Hemsworth and Matt Damon's cameo. He's a friend from work.
He is a creature. What can we say about him? Well, he's unique. There's none like him. I feel a special connection with him. He's undefeated. He's the reigning. He's the defending. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you
and they're not all comedic. Valkyrie's flashback to fighting Hela is just like one of the most visually stunning things in the entire MCU. My score is 5 out of 5. Number 6 is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. This movie expands the MCU and has some of its best action. This movie is a must-see for anyone mature enough not to throw a temper tantrum when they have to read subtitles. Simu Liu, Tony Luang Chuai, Menger Zhang, Fala Chen, and Aquafina are all great. Michelle Yeoh stands out from the supporting cast, and there are some fun cameos too. The script is tight. It occasionally dips its feet into the established MCU formula, but it mostly does its own thing. The leads are fleshed out and they get plenty of development, the visuals are stunning, and the different color palettes help each location stand apart. Musical score is great, but where this movie really stands out is the action. The cinematography and the editing are better than most of the MCU movies, but they're still not exceptional. It's the choreography that elevates it. And the mixture of different martial arts helps give each character a fairly distinct fighting style. The score is 5 out of 5. Number 5 is Avengers Infinity War. Endgame might have the biggest and best moments, but Infinity War is the better movie overall.
Wakanda forever!
We get a villain protagonist, something no other MCU has given us, even now, 5 years later. That's right, make no mistake, this is Thanos' movie. The acting, action, musical score, and writing are all great. There are a few minor issues here and there, but they're exactly that. Minor. As great as Endgame is, it does feel a little slow at times, but with Infinity War, the pacing is just that much better. Score is 5 out of 5. Number 4 is Spider-Man No Way Home. John Watts really stepped up his game for this movie. No Way Home takes everything that Homecoming and Far From Home did and does them just as well, if not better, and also does a bunch of new things and also does them well. You do not have to have seen Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy or the Amazing Spider-Man movies to enjoy this one, but it certainly helps.
Oh, what the hell is going on out there? I keep yelling at you, Peter 2, Peter 2, Peter 2. I know, but I thought you were Peter 2. What? I'm not Peter 2.
Stop arguing, both of you! Listen to Peter 1! Look, we're clearly not very good at this.
I know, we suck. I don't know how to work as a team.
Me neither. Well, I do. I have been in a team, okay? I don't want to brag, but I will. I was in the Avengers.
The Avengers?
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
What is that?
Wait, you don't have the Avengers?
Is that a band? Are you in a band?
No, I'm not in a band. No, the Avengers is Earth's mightiest.
How's this helping?
Look, it's not important. All we gotta do is focus, trust your tingle, and coordinate our attacks, okay?
Yes. Okay. Let's pick one target.
Right.
And we take them off the board one at a time.
Now you got it. Okay, Peter 1, Peter 2.
Peter 2.
Peter 3.
Peter 3.
All right, let's do this. Ready?
Wait. I love you guys. Thank you.
All right, let's do this.
For all the things this movie succeeds at, The most important one is that it keeps things personal. Peter's actions and choices drive the plot. His inner conflict is directly tied to the external conflict. And also, there's fan service, but none of it feels egregious. Originally, I didn't like that Eddie Brock and Venom were basically relegated to a cameo and just got drunk and left a little bit of Venom behind when they left. But honestly, it feels so perfectly in character for them that, like, I don't even care anymore. I think it's pretty funny. The score is 5 out of 5. Number 3 is Iron Man. This movie set the bar really fucking high, to the point that it took 6 years for another MCU movie to top it. And there's a reason for that. This is Jon Favreau's masterpiece. This is a perfect example of how to take a character who should be a villain and turn him into a hero, which apparently is how Iron Man came to be in the first place, so fitting. This is also just one of the best superhero origin stories of all time, full stop. Robert Downey Jr. is just perfect as Tony Stark. Obadiah Stane isn't the best MCU villain, but honestly, I've come to appreciate him more with time. The action, music, cinematography, editing are all great, and the writing? Well, okay, let's talk about the writing. There really wasn't any. Pretty much, like 90% of the dialogue in this movie was improvised. Obviously, there was stuff they planned out, especially the action scenes. Jon Favreau has described this as basically just being a very, very expensive student film. I know the budget was over $100 million. But like, yeah, they didn't have a completed script. I don't know if that was because of the writer's strike at the time or not, but unlike movies like Quantum of Solace or Transformers 2, this movie actually makes it work. Because the people involved are talented enough to plan out the important stuff and improvise the rest. And it just fucking works. My score is 5 out of 5. Number 2 is Guardians of the Galaxy. James Gunn is fucking awesome. Full stop. Okay, not full stop because I actually have more to say, but you get the point. The cast is just so great. The characters are all well developed and fleshed out. This movie succeeded where Eternals kind of fell short. Ronan isn't a top tier villain, but he works perfectly fine for the movie. Soundtrack and the original musical score are both great. The humor is consistently funny, and every emotional moment works. And I know there was more studio interference here than in Guardians Volume 2, but I don't know. Maybe some of that worked out, or maybe it was just other factors that make this one better, but either way.
But it's not something I would ever say about myself.
This wasn't the plan.
Put him in the bag! Put him in the bag! No! Not her, him! Learn genders, man! Ow! Hiding? That's not fair! Take it easy!
My score is 5 out of 5. Finally, my number 1 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is James Gunn at the height of his powers, of his ability to cause genuine emotional reactions in the audience.
Hey! Where did you go, squirrel?
On the ground!
No, stop! No! No! Stop, please! Stop, please!
You will laugh, you will cry, you will cheer, sometimes all three in 5 minutes. The entire cast is at the top of their game. Everyone gets to explore new sides of their characters, especially Zoe Saldana. The High Evolutionary may be lacking in redeeming qualities, but Gunn's script and Chukwudi Iwuji's performance give him a surprising amount of nuance. Will Poulter is a welcome addition to the cast, and Maria Bakalova absolutely shines as Cosmo. The action is great, musical score and soundtrack are great, and the technical aspects are just great. This is a great fucking movie. This is a masterpiece. Score is 5 out of 5. Hey everyone, what's your ranking? Let me know down in the comments. Like and subscribe and all that. If you don't like the video, tell me why, and try to be constructive, don't just be mean. Then subscribe anyway, and you'll get notified when I upload a new video, and then watch that one and tell me why that one sucks, or maybe where I've improved, whatever the case may be. That's all for now. Stay safe in these crazy times.